Markets move fast, and unexpected events can wipe out your investment overnight. FTX, the crypto exchange that just entered bankruptcy, is only the latest example. Before that, it was Theranos and Bernie Madoff. Even the most sophisticated investors in the world have lost billions of dollars to these seemingly obvious frauds. How can you know that your hard-earned money is being invested safely? How can you increase your odds of making a profit in the investment world? And which stocks should you own in your portfolio today? Well, these are the questions that I'm going to be asking Keith Fitz-Gerald. Keith is a frequent guest on both Maria Bartiromo and Stuart Varney's shows on Fox Business, along with regular spots on CNBC. He's the co-founder of the newly formed Keith Fitz-Gerald Research and author of 5 with Fitz, a snappy, free daily email about the markets and his top investment ideas. I hope you enjoy my global macro update for this week with Keith Fitz-Gerald. Keith, it's great to see you. Let's jump right into it. We are sitting here with a long list of challenges facing investors, right? Ongoing war in Ukraine, tensions in China don't seem to be getting any better. We've still got inflation. We've got interest rates going up. I mean, this is a complex environment. My first question for you is, do you think now is a good time to be investing, to making new investments, or should everyone be sitting on their hands in this type of environment?
You didn't waste any time today, Ed. I tell you what, anybody going to the sidelines really needs to rethink what they want to accomplish when it comes to the markets. We know 2 things from thousands of years of market history. Chaos creates opportunity. Right now, this is an opportunity-rich environment. It feels like you might want to go to the sidelines, put a sign on your rear end that says, "Kick me when it's over." But in fact, history says that is going to be one of the most damning, expensive, and potentially restricting decisions that an investor could make today.
It's really hard, right? It's really hard human psychology-wise for investors to think about buying when it feels the worst. That's when you should do it.
Well, but this is exactly the thing again, and it's not just me. Don't take my word for it. But some of my mentors, for example, the late Sir John Templeton, you've got Warren Buffett, T. Rowe Price, Peter Lynch. The common theme there is you buy when people are despondently selling. Now, I've updated that philosophy, and I say you buy the world's best companies when they've been kicked to the curb and nobody else wants them. Because what's happening right now, Ed, is not anything to do with the business models associated with the world's best brands. It is simply that price has divorced from value, which means if you know what to look for, you go straight after it. You get into the fight because that is the source of the world's biggest, most consistent profits, and history is very, very clear about that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, Keith. What's your framework? How do you decide where to put money?
Well, it's a very simple process. I mean, this isn't rocket science, right? What we want to do, we have a thing, we say best, not rest. If you're not playing with the number 1 or number 2 slot in any given industry, in any theme, in anything on the planet, you are wasting your time and you've got risk in your portfolio you don't need. So number 1, best, not rest. 2, you've got to confine these things to companies making must-have products and services the world cannot live without. Nice-to-haves don't count. So think about it this way. Chevron, we've got to have dinosaur juice. Peloton, iPad on a bicycle? No way. That's going to be the world's most expensive laundry hanger. So that's number 2. And then finally, number 3, you've got to have visionary CEOs. And you can see that very clearly in the earnings reports. Right now, you've got companies like Zoom or Netflix or Disney. They're coming up with the equivalent of the dog ate my homework. That's not good. But you've got a company like Apple, for example. You've got a company like Microsoft that's saying, hey, this is how we're going to attack the future. This is where we're going, and this is what we're doing about it. Those are CEOs I'll invest in all day long.
So let's talk about some specific companies then and some specific CEOs, because there's one CEO in particular that you have been a decade-long advocate of, and that's Elon Musk. Now, in the macro world that I live in, people love to dump on Elon, and people that I know have been stubbornly short for years, and they've lost money all the way up, right? So is it better to be right and lose money, or do you just want to make money? What are your thoughts on Tesla and Elon today, now that he's the chief twit? So with Twitter, of course.
Well, self-styled title, and I think it's appropriate, right? Chief Twit. If you can't have humor, what do you have? The answer is not much. So here's the thing about Elon Musk, right? He is undoubtedly one of the most visionary CEOs in the history of our markets. And he's on par with Steve Jobs, perhaps even better. What the establishment does not like about Elon Musk is that he has enough money to play by his own rules. He's brash and he knows exactly what he's going for, and then he does it. So this is very much Jobs 2.0. But you'd think people would learn not to bet against Elon Musk a long time ago. I had a hunch this might come up, so I took a look just before we got on camera. Tesla, over the last 10 years, Ed, since basically I said, hey, you guys really want to pay attention to this, Tesla is up 9,059%. Even after all of the recent selling, even after the Twitter, even after all the reasons to dump on the guy, 9,000%. You can't argue with that. And so the question investors have to come down to right now is something we talk about all the time. Do you want to be right or do you want to be profitable? Because there are plenty of stocks I disagree with, plenty of people I disagree with, but if the answer is that I want to be profitable, I'm going to invest anyway. Elon Musk, for many people, is one of those situations.
This is what I really like talking with you and working with you, Keith, because you're pretty much an open book on how you think and what your thoughts are with specific companies.
We try to be. I mean, we try.
Again,
people make investing so complicated, and they think, oh my God, I got to have all these things. No, you don't. All you have to do is focus on what the world's doing. And I'll give you another great example. This one just sets people's hair on fire, makes their brains explode. Inflation rages. The Fed's going to do this. Who's going to be in the White House? What's going to happen inside the Beltway? So what? Think about this for a second. Nobody is giving up their iPhones. Okay, buy Apple. Microsoft is bringing people together the world over. The stock's been beaten to smithereens. Why on earth wouldn't you own that? These are the kinds of things that you can back away from the maelstrom, turn off the news. It makes a great substitute for Animal Planet where you can watch it and don't have the volume. Forget about what the Fed does next. If the company's a must-have versus a nice-to-have, the company's best in class, odds are you are going to do just fine. You may not like the risk, but that's a different subject. That's a tactical consideration, not an investing problem.
So I happen to agree with you on Microsoft. I think it is best in breed. They're not alone though in being beaten up. Tech stocks across the board have gotten pretty hammered lately. So what do you think about some other stocks? Would you put Meta, for example, or Facebook in that same category?
No way. No
how about Amazon?
way. No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I said to people, avoid Amazon. I said, sell Amazon last January. I said Meta at $350+ a share was a bug in search of a windshield. Those are examples of companies that are linear business models applied to a process that otherwise doesn't change. Apple's changing the world. Microsoft's changing the world. They're very different things. Meta in particular is a problem child. Here's why. Apple summarily put billions of dollars of dent into its business model. Zuckerberg himself is a problem. I submit that company is going to $50 a share, maybe even less before this is done. The layoffs that ought to occur at Meta ought to start with the C-suite and Zuckerberg himself.
How do you feel about Amazon?
Amazon's the same thing. Again, if you've got it and you've got a basis that's really low, okay, fine. Make a decision with your tax advisors as to whether you want to hold it. I think it's short or avoid right now. Jassy isn't Bezos. The shopping that everybody thinks they're going with the buy what you know. I shop all the time, therefore Amazon's a good investment. Not so. What they don't realize is that many people are shopping in a part of Amazon that's subsidized by everything else they do. Costs are going up, labor's going up. It's not a myth. It's not a mystery or a reason, surprise that they're laying off all these people because that stuff's getting more expensive for them. So Amazon isn't what you think it is. It's certainly not what it's going to be in the future. I'd say avoid it.
So Keith, I want to jump in and explain to people something that they probably don't know yet. This might be the first official announcement, right? You and I have known each other for almost 10 years now. You've known
I think it's
John
a little
Malden.
longer than that, actually.
Yeah, maybe 12.
Yeah.
And John, even longer, probably.
Yeah, almost 20-something plus years at this point for John and I.
20-something years with John Malden. And we've always talked over the years, it would be great if we could figure out a way to work together. And we finally did it, right?
I know.
So now we're working together. Keith Fitz-Gerald Research just launched last week. We're all in the same boat now. I'm really excited about it. And I want everyone to know, how can they get your latest thoughts, hot off the press? What do you buy? What do you stay away from? Where are the markets going? That's what you do every day with your letter, 5 with Fitz. How do people get it?
Thank you for bringing that up, and we're super excited to be working together too, because this has been a long time in formation. It's a dream to be able to finally do it, to bring the teams together. I mean, wow, imagine what we're going to accomplish in the next couple of years. But getting to 5 with Fitz, this is really fun. So 5withfitz.com is how you get there. It's a free daily wrap-up. These are really, by history, Ed, these are personal notes that I prepared for my own use to clarify my own thinking, to approach the market every single day. I personally write them every single morning, just ahead of the open. I'm in the office at 4:45 in the morning, just like clockwork. And this is how you get inside my head. Some people say it's the best part of their day. Others say it's like sitting next to me at the trading desk. My goal is to identify what's moving, why, and how, and then give you some thinking that'll help you capitalize on that. I don't hold it back. It's raw, it's irreverent, it's fun. And people tell me they love it. So I'm really, really flattered.
And it's quick.
Exactly.
You seem to employ that Axios model of smart brevity, which I really, really like.
Well, I like to think that they employ the Fitz-Gerald model of brevity, because we were doing it long before they did.
Nice. So I'll have a link in the YouTube description and in the email that we send out to all of our well over 100,000 readers every week. There'll be a link where you can subscribe to 5 with Fitz.
Yeah, by the way, you're going to be, if you do sign up, and I hope you do, there's no hints, no gimmicks, no gotchas. I'm not into that. I don't have time for that nonsense. It's just what's coming out of my brain. How do you identify where the money's going and get ahead of it? And by the way, there's some really sophisticated people joining us. You've got individual investors, you've got hedge fundies, you've got professional advisors, registered investment advisors. There's a really cool group of people reading along because the information is valuable to how you approach the markets. It doesn't matter what your skill set is, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, a grizzled gray hair like me. The thing is, my goal is to make that there's always something valuable, easy to understand, and easy to act upon.
Yeah, no, I love it. I read it every morning. It's part of my routine now.
Thank you.
And I get a lot of content, by the way, so to make it into my daily routine is actually pretty hard.
Thank you.
So hopefully everyone signs up for that. I highly recommend it. 5 with Fitz. But let's get back to some of the things that are happening in the markets, because you're so great at covering them. This whole FTX exchange, the crypto exchange that blew up, declared bankruptcy. I mean, this is such a huge deal. I've been following it closely. The contagion is just starting to show itself, and we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. What do you think about crypto right now?
Well, this is very clearly Enron 2.0. That's the closest parallel in history. We have financial shenaniganry on a level that is almost incomprehensible. There are going to be some big, big names that come out in the wash. I have questions about names like BlackRock, Temasek. What are some of these big funds doing? What did they know when about all the insider trading, the malfeasance, the manipulation? Those things are going to have to come out. The auditors who supposedly sanctified FTX, that's going to come out in the wash. The political connections, because he was not coincidentally a big PAC donor. So these are things that are going to come out in the wash. I don't know where it goes. I don't know what it is. But what I do know, and this is the interesting part, is that this is not atypical of other industries that get born over time and change the world. So if we look back at crypto, Crypto 1 is all about hype and promise, smoke and illusion. That's what Crypto 1 is. That's, who knows what this stuff is? The greater fool theory. I'm going to buy it today because some greater fool is going to come along and buy it tomorrow. But what happens next? I have argued for years that Crypto 2.0 is going to happen when people get serious about regulation. And people say, oh no, we can't have regulation. Well, I'm betting you there's a lot of people out there right now who wish they did, because then they'd have a chance to recover all this nonsense from FTX and all the other crypto that's imploding or been stolen over the years. I think what happens now is that people figure out there's a very serious application to digital currency. That's not going away. We're going to have digital currency in our future. We've just seen today the New York Fed and a bunch of the big banks launch a digital pilot program for clearing. That's something I've been talking about for years with one of my favorite investments, as we recommended in 5 with Fitz and 1 bar ahead. But going forward, the linkages are going to allow previously unrelated companies. This is really cool, like Starbucks in Alaska, for example, just did this. They created a joint program that links their loyalty points and allows them to intersperse with each other's business in real time with real value. Now, here's where it gets cool, Ed, is Those programs are thought about in digital terms. They're thought about just in loyalty. What people don't understand is that people put billions of dollars into preloaded expense cards, preloaded loyalty, preloaded purchase agreements. Effectively, Starbucks is one of the world's largest banks because it gets all that money for free, zero interest loan from its customers. And then it can use it in conjunction with any partnership it sets up. It doesn't even have to deliver the coffee. It's a cool arrangement. That ultimately, I think, is going to define Bitcoin 2.0, digital currency 2.0, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, FTX just kind of this saga blows me away, right? When you
Unbelievable.
And in retrospect, it's always obvious, right? But what could go wrong? You give
everything
a handful of 20 and low 30-something-year-old kids with no adult supervision, $15 billion or so, put them all in one place in the Bahamas. What could go wrong?
Well, and that's the question. I think that's the crux of where this is going to go, is who knew what and when? Because, for example, if Sequoia is going to contribute a couple $100 million to invest in, if Temasek is going to put in a similar amount of money, what did they know about it, when, and how? Because what's happening is very interesting to me. You're seeing a pattern of behavior from people saying, hey, Mnuchin was saying, I didn't invest. I passed on that twice. You're seeing celebrities saying, oh, we didn't know. You're seeing Sequoia took the very unusual step of tweeting about the relationship before it even released a press statement. Right. We did our diligence. We did our homework, implying that it's all on FTX. I don't buy that. I was born in the middle of the night, but it wasn't last night. So the question to me is who knew what, when, and how, and when are the regulators going to step up? Even Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, apparently met with the head of FTX, Bankman-Fried, 45 days before the implosion. So that raises my eyebrows.
He fooled a lot of people. There's no denying.
Unbelievable.
So my last question for you, Keith, and after having this conversation, I'm not even sure if I should ask it. I think that, let me rephrase it. What I was going to ask you is, where do you see the markets going in 2023? But maybe a better question is, do you even care? Or are you more focused on the best companies, and that's where you concentrate your research and your recommendations?
Well, sort of yes and no. There's a twofold answer to that. Yes, I would love to have an updraft. Yes, I want to see a rally. Why? Because part of the research we do is not just best, not rest, not just the all of those things. Every stock we select, every company we focus on has what's called a high upside capture ratio. Now, what that means in plain English is that we are able to identify, or at least we think we are with pretty good track record, we think we're able to identify companies that are about ready to make a big move because the liquidity that we're talking about, whether it comes from the Fed or second guessing a banking system, whatever, if the liquidity goes there, then these stocks tend to move farther and faster than those that don't have high upside capture ratios. So I would like to see the Fed pause. I'd like the Fed to take a reality pill. They've gotten it wrong all along. This idea that we're going to defend them or rely on them, for lack of a better term, is preposterous. I don't care if I got the best companies, but still, I know everybody else cares. So if I can harness that and get my money there first, I'm good.
Viewers, you can get Keith's latest thoughts, like truly, literally, the latest, best ideas that he has every morning by signing up for 5 with Fitz, and there's a link below where you can do that. Keith, my friend, awesome talking to you. Can't wait to be working with you on Keith Fitz-Gerald Research. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, we are. Fun is going to be the operative word around here, and hopefully some darn nice profits when the smoke settles.
Thanks for watching this week's Global Macro Update from Malden Economics. On the screen, you should see the URL where you can sign up for Keith's morning letter, 5 with Fitz. It's excellent. Can't recommend it enough. I'm Ed D'Agostino. We'll see you next week.